I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Senator Bob Menendez voiced his support for President Biden's nominee to be executive director of the Inter-American Development Bank, Leopoldo Martinez. As immigration continues to be a hot-button issue, Menendez said this would be a, quote, organization that can help create greater prosperity and stability in the hemisphere, and people won't be fleeing from the circumstances. Here's more from the New Jersey Democrat.
I'm rising to ask unanimous consent to consider the nomination of Leopoldo Martinez. This body should confirm him today to serve as Executive Director of the Inter-American Development Bank. From the world's highest per capita COVID infection and death rates to the largest economic contraction anywhere in the world, Latin America and the Caribbean are still struggling to recover from devastating waves of the pandemic. The region also faces historic refugee and migration movements that stretch across the continent. And added to this, many of these nations must confront longstanding poverty and inequality, as well as climate change and threats to the environment. Given the significant economic, social, and development challenges in Latin America and the Caribbean, we urgently need Senate-confirmed leadership at our hemisphere's most important multilateral development bank. The Inter-American Development Bank is essential to addressing these issues. And it's critical that we have strong U.S. leadership at the bank. Mr. Martinez brings decades of experience in the public and private sectors, as well as academia, and he will provide exactly that. He has advised Fortune 500 companies and private equity funds. He's helped international business and non-governmental organizations, and he's committed to work with the Senate to support a much-needed capital increase for the bank, which we approved as part of the U.S. Innovation and Competition Act last year. Now, this nomination has been pending for 9 months. 9 months. It's time for the Senate to act, especially when we have China, and I know my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have spent a lot of time talking about China and whether we're strong enough in meeting the China threat. Well, China is all over the Western Hemisphere, making huge investments. I talked to one foreign leader this past week from the hemisphere who said to me, listen, what's the U.S. offering? Because I'm being offered $800 million, 1% over 30 years. I'm not taking it, but at some point we need to have engagement in the hemisphere economically. That's what the Inter-American Development Bank can do without costing U.S. taxpayers money. But for that, you need leadership that is focused on getting the IDB to build the partnerships and the programs that can help us have a presence to counter China in the first place and also to promote prosperity, security, and stability. And for all of those of my colleagues who are concerned about the southern border, well, let's get an organization that can help create greater prosperity and stability in the hemisphere. People won't be fleeing from the circumstances. So I don't understand why this has taken 9 months, but that's what draws me to come to the floor. So I ask unanimous consent that the Senate Foreign Relations Committee be discharged and the Senate proceed to the following nomination. PN 1028, Leopoldo Martinez Ucete to be United States Executive Director of the Inter-American Development Bank for a term of 3 years. Vice Elliot Pedrosa, that the Senate vote on the nomination with no intervening action or debate. The motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table, that no further motions be made in order to the nomination, that any related statements be printed in the record.
Is there objection?
Mr. President, reserving the right to object.
The senator from Kansas.
This nominee received a tie vote in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, meaning that he failed to be reported favorably to the floor. This tie vote indicates that the Senate Foreign Relations Committee Republicans have significant concerns with this nominee. Therefore, he should be discharged per the process laid out in the Senate Power Sharing Agreement for this Congress, not passed by unanimous consent. Therefore, I object.
Objection is heard.
Mr. President, I'm going to be honest here. This isn't really about Mr. Martinez, his experience, his views. It's just another thinly veiled attempt to block another of the president's nominees, and to do so at a time in which China is eating our lunch. So the next time one of my colleagues gets up and talks about China, I'm going to remind them of the position that they have taken to block one of the critical nominees that could help us meet that challenge in the Western Hemisphere. Let me turn to another nominee that has been pending before the Senate, who did pass the committee, by the way, favorably. Not in a tied vote, but favorably. So I'm going to, in a moment, ask unanimous consent to confirm Dr. Monde Muyangwa to serve as Assistant Administrator for USAID's Africa Bureau. This body should confirm her without delay. The promotion of democracy, a key goal for USAID, is threatened throughout Africa. In just the past 2 years, there have been coups in Sudan, Chad, Guinea, Burkina Faso, and 2 in Mali. Authoritarians across Africa have new tactics to subvert democratic movements. They have modern tools to silence dissenting voices. They deploy disinformation campaigns and sophisticated surveillance technology coming from China to stay in power. And from Mali to the Central African Republic, dictators are turning to Russian mercenaries for support. Democracy advocates, human rights defenders, civil society leaders across the continent are courageously working to realize their aspirations and goals. They need a reliable partner at USAID to keep the struggle for democracy in their countries. And that's why we have to advance this nominee today. Dr. Muyagwa is eminently qualified to lead USAID's Africa Bureau. She brings extensive professional and academic experience in Africa. She is a Zambian-born immigrant to the United States, where she has held senior positions at the Wilson Center, the Africa Center for Strategic Studies, the National Summit on Africa. She was a Rhodes Scholar, a Wingate Scholar for her scholarship at Oxford, the valedictorian for her graduating class at the University of Zambia, and she holds a doctorate in international relations from the University of Oxford. You think she's well qualified? In short, her qualifications are exceptional. Finally, let me say that while Africa faces many challenges, it's also a land of tremendous opportunity. But here again, China is all over Africa in precious minerals, in other precious materials, in subverting nascent democracies by their debt trap diplomacy. And where are we? Absent. Because we don't even have somebody who can focus on the hemisphere. A hemisphere that we should have gotten a lot more votes at the United Nations when we were pursuing the sanctions against Russia. But guess what? We don't have anybody talking to these countries. So I see no reason with somebody with such a stellar background to ultimately be objected to. So I will ask unanimous consent the Senate consider the following nomination, calendar 815, Monde Muyagwa, to be an Assistant Administrator of the United States Agency for International Development. At the Senate vote on the nomination without intervening action or debate, the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table, and that any statements related to the nomination be printed in the record.
Is there objection?
Mr. President,
Senator from Kansas.
reserving the right to object. USAID awarded a $200 million grant for a 10-year viral emergence early warning project known as PREDICT. We've uncovered evidence of possible embezzlement, possible money laundering, and insider threats, as well as other concerns related to the PREDICT and other USAID grant awards. PREDICT was led by a consortium spearheaded by UC Davis and EcoHealth Alliance, who funneled taxpayer money dollars to the Wuhan Institute of Virology to conduct risky research on potential pandemic pathogens, including bat coronavirus research. USAID and NIH both awarded multi-million-dollar grants to EcoHealth Alliance during the same 5-year period leading up to and immediately preceding the COVID-19 outbreak. EcoHealth is unable to produce to NIH proof of its research, such as lab notebooks and virus samples, so we are simply asking USAID for proof of the EcoHealth research they funded. We requested records from USAID that grant recipients are legally required to maintain Our requests are indeed fact-based. At this point, we believe either the USAID staff is withholding the records from Congress or they have failed to access them through the UC Davis and EcoHealth Alliance. Either option is unacceptable. As such, I object to the unanimous consent motion, but look forward to working with the chairman to address these issues.
Objection is heard.
Mr. President, through the chair, would my colleague say that have you not been provided 3 rounds of documents that's been requested?
Mr. President.
Senator from Kansas.
Unfortunately, the documents were not what we asked for. They're incomplete. They don't give us what we're looking for, but would welcome the opportunity to sit down with the chairman and try to address.
Through the chair, through the presiding officer, has my colleague not been offered a briefing by USAID to try to answer the rest of his questions? This is an extraordinary amount of information being offered for someone who's not even a member of the Foreign Relations Committee, but nonetheless, in order to accommodate him, we want to get to a point that he feels comfortable to do so. Have you not been offered a briefing, which you have not yet accepted?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, my understanding is that there has been, Mr. President, an offer of a briefing made to the senator. And by the way, this has nothing to do with Dr. Muyagwa. She has nothing to do with any of this. She's nominated to be the Assistant Administrator for Africa. Nothing to do with China, nothing to do with Wuhan, nothing to do with anything else. And I would urge my colleague, if you have all this information about illicit activities, please bring it forward. The committee would like to consider it. But I haven't seen any of it. It's time to put up or shut up. I yield the floor.